Help me! Help me! It's the Duchess of Sussex! I got stuck in the post! Harry, I can't move. H. Oh, H. I can't get out of this. Get me out of this. This is a designer look. I am the new Gwyneth Paltrow. It is worth thousands upon thousands. And people are saying that I look like a stuffed envelope. Kate doesn't seem to have this trouble. I will sack my couturiers and dressers and advisors and designers. Sack them all. Harry, they are upstaging us again. This was supposed to be my week, our week, and this was supposed to be my clothes that were most highly praised, not Catherine's, and look at what has happened. The critics do not understand high fashion. I am fashion forward. I push the envelope. I'm wearing an envelope. I want to win Mental Health Awareness Week. I want the goose that lays the golden eggs for Easter. I want it now, Daddy. I want it now. Oh, Daddy, I'm gonna pull on your heartstrings. Servant! Makeup artist. Make sure my freckles are on display. Have you done my freckles properly? Kate doesn't have freckles. She is too old for freckles. What do you mean I'm older? I'm delighted to be here with him, with my husband. Let me do the talking, H. Thank you so much for coming here today, peasants and paupers. Fans. Subjects. What are you called? Oh, Harry, how did I end up wearing this? You're the one that requires a straitjacket and a padded cell. I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here. And not just a celebrity, a duchess too. We are not amused. Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. They failed. Their plan to upstage William and Catherine flopped and didn't impress. At every twist and turn, they tried to emulate and improve upon the Prince and Princess of Wales as if they are the true and rightful king and queen. And every time, pride comes before a fall and a failure. And that is what happened to my great satisfaction this week when they wanted to muscle in on Mental Health Awareness Week. Plans have backfired, and competing in the way that they do with the Waleses is so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Anything they can do, we can do better. That seems to be their attitude to everything. Harry is so much brighter. He can todger his way into any crisis and sort things out. Better than Big Willie. Yeah, right. And as for the Duchess, well, we're going to go there. They think that they are the king and queen of hearts, of mermaids. Not just of the United Kingdom, who needs all of that. They are the king and queen of Hollywood. I'm the alpha brother. That's what Harry wants us to think. Second son, but first alpha. First alpha of the family. Oh, yeah. And I'm the Earl of Dumbarton, but don't you call me that. I'm the Earl of Dumbarton, Tinchy Todger. Teensy weensy Tinchy Todger. And this is my wife. I'm the Earl, she's the Pearl of Dumbarton. Don't use that language, Harry. I am the Princess of Sussex. Ha! The Pearl of Tinseltown is what she is, and I'm a chameleon. I'm Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in case you didn't know. I'm a chameleon. I will serve a selection of looks this week. If you think Catherine is going to serve you a collection of looks, well, wait till you see what I've got up my sleeve for you. One moment I'm a chic businesswoman in my straitjacket affair. And next I'm down with the kids in my urban streetwear. Yeah, I'm going to release a rap album next because I'm so down with the kids. And I've even got brand new eyebrows painted on for you. Groucho Marx, eat your heart out. At Hudson Yards they were greeted by a crowd of 0 and they hosted a panel discussion. And because this great big clattering crowd of 0 were to be anticipated, there was a 7-car convoy. A 7-car convoy to avert all the catastrophic car chases of Manhattan that they were going to have to face. Yes, it's a blazer, this thing. in a sort of yellowy white, off the shoulder. It's a take on a blazer with a gold and emerald choker. I like the concept of the design. I have to say, I rather like the concept, a little bit unusual, could you say, a touch avant-garde, I suppose. But it's not the right occasion. Not at all. This is where she sticks out like a sore thumb, but that's what she wants. It's not the right occasion, Meghan, to flaunt your oh-so-supple shoulders and your clavicles that are creamed to within an inch of your life, glistening in the light. Those bones. It strikes me as vulgar. Vulgar. For an evening reception, fine. Absolutely fine. No problem. I don't think it's especially flattering on her, this design, but for an evening, you know, a cocktail do, some sort of affair, yeah, absolutely fine. But for this, oh no, it put me in mind of a head on a plinth. I couldn't actually see the design of the costume initially because, you know, the background was all a very similar colour, which was one mistake, you know. That was one mistake. It looked like she was floating, that the head and shoulders were floating in air, like some sort of bust, or rather like in Return to Oz, that character Princess Mombi, who had a selection of heads to choose from each morning. Perhaps that's what she does. But yeah, it looked certainly to me that kind of thing, like she is emerging from an urn or a planter, you know. I loved the hair. I am not going to complain about the hair. I love a bit of a messy bun, which is, I suppose, is a take on that is what it was. I liked it in profile, I should say. Yep, she had the big tendril affair going on, but I get a bit of that sometimes too, so I can't complain. And I loved it from the side. I think the profile looked really nice. But yeah, she looked like she was being whited out, if you will, or should I say Tippexed out. We call that white out fluid Tippex here in the kingdom, being sort of whitewashed, isn't she? But then she does that to herself. She resembled an envelope from some angles. Send her by airmail, but not in this direction. And yes, it did remind me of a straitjacket in a padded cell. And perhaps she should lend it to Harry. It might benefit him. It also put me in mind of chest binding. And this is what I mean. Yes, one can praise a bold design. I'm not scared of a bold design, but on her, it looked as if she was being bound. It also looked like a condom. It also looked like she was popping out of some sort of sanitary applicator. One moment it's looking like an origami sculpture when she's folding all up into herself, and the next moment it's a napkin, and the moment after that, a bed. Well, they made their bed, they can lie in it, and I watched a few moments of this panel that they were on. It's become her signature, hasn't it, to make these rather crude attempts at drawing comparisons, sort of fluffy, condescending comparisons. In this case, it was about the safeguarding of children with the internet, and she was trying to compare this to the evolution of cars. She made a totally unnecessary comparison to, you know, when cars were invented, the automobile, it didn't have any safety procedures in place, but over time they add this and they add that, and the sat-navs and the seat belts and everything. And you think, she thinks that she's back in the Brooklyn school for youngsters again, talking to the little 4 and 5-year-olds or whatever age they were. Well, even those got the number of these two and weren't impressed by the patronising tone. So who knows what this room of grown adults think of them? Who knows? But, you know, very noble cause, I'm sure. As usual, I'm sure that there's maybe some good going on somewhere, but there are also rather ignoble tones and ignoble history to what's going on, because yes, social media can be extremely scary for children, them coming into it, and for us grown-ups as well, my dear, it can be rather petrifying. But they should take a look at what the Cambridge children faced in the wake of their aspersions. This is the hypocrisy. In the face of their aspersions, what those poor children have had to put up with. Meghan says, being a mom is the most important thing in my life, outside of being a wife to this one. And that was rather an interesting turn of phrase, I thought. To be fair, perhaps I'm reading a bit too much into it, but it was the choice of wording, being a mom and being a wife, whereas she could have said, my children and my husband or my children and Harry are the most important things in my life. But it was her instinct, her natural vernacular to refer to herself as, being a mum, being a wife. Perhaps when you start being Rachel Ragland and stop trussing yourself up as the Duchess of Sussex and your husband, who doesn't deserve his dukedom, then we'll take you more seriously, my dear. But this is where we can all take some joy, some real joy, because there she was in her chic envelope affair, in her padded cell, and it must have been bruising. Oh, it must have been bruising to her ego to discover that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, wore a similar palette to Meghan, but looked a trillion times better. And I don't even have to convince you of that. The photos tell the story. Flawless, elegant, chic, effortless. Creamy knits she wore by Cézanne at Nottingham Trent University to discuss mental health management and take part in well-being sessions. And yes, Harry could do with a few of those as well, couldn't he? She received pink blooms which happened to complement the creamy knits. She just looked so sublime, sexy, womanly, with just a hint of girlishness, but not in a nauseating way. Womanly, demure, professional, utterly timeless she was. And it's not my wont to try and pitch two women against each other simply for the sake of it. But if the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are going to put themselves forward as competition, put themselves forward as the true and rightful royals, as Harry did in his memoir, I should say, and how Meghan did on her interview, both intimating that they can do it so much better. They threw down the gauntlet. Well, I'm afraid they're going to have it boomerang back to them. And Prince William did contrast very favourably to Prince Harry, who was twitching about in his seat, as he always does, looking all florid and flustered. William was dignity and royalty personified. At Milton Keynes, at the Blue Light Hub, to highlight the importance of supporting the mental health of emergency responders. And we all know that he worked as one as well. Blue Light is an operation base combining fire, police and ambulance services. But back in Brooklyn, it was time for the Duchess of Sussex to show us what a comedian she really is. At the Marcy Lab School, a college alternative, the chief programme officer, I have to say, was delighted to have been graced with their presence. He was heaping praise on their financial investment in Mary Lab, their generous time, and their active belief in the school, the students and work. And Meghan was wearing her varsity Letterman jacket that was gifted in 2020 by a school debate team. Very touching, Meghan dear. And we happen to know that you design these things to pull on the heartstrings, don't you? And I'm sure you're doing it so successfully, but in case people think I'm being too harsh, she told us that. She told us that via the emails released by Jason Knauf. Let's pull on the heartstrings. Oh, the press will love this. But, foiled again, my love. Foiled again and pipped at the post, and not even with any effort from Catherine, because she doesn't even think about you or competing with you. Way above all that, my dear, but Catherine wore her Brave Mind Izzy Star earrings that were gifted a few months ago by the lady who lost her daughter, who had taken her own life. You remember that? Well, now is the time that she wore those earrings, and you can find them online, and a fiver of the cost goes to charity for this kind of thing. So it was the perfect occasion to wear them. She didn't plan to do it in competition with Meghan and her varsity Letterman jacket that was gifted to her, but I'm afraid, to Meghan's chagrin, that's how the stars aligned. On this particular outing, Catherine wore a blazer by Maya by L.K. Bennett, and I don't like the colour. I can't pretend to like it, but it's actually the reason why I'm wearing this, and I don't like the colour of this either. But when I saw she was wearing dark yellow, it's one of the few things that I didn't have in stock, if you will, in my wardrobe. I couldn't really find anything. I wanted to kind of match it up just to have some fun for the broadcast. Couldn't find anything, so I trotted off to the local charity shop and picked this up. And it doesn't fit me very well, I'm afraid. It's not very attractive, but I thought it was just rather fun to try and match it up a bit, although this is more sort of mustardy orange than the yellow she was wearing. But I'm not really a fan for wearing much of that sort of tone. I do sometimes here on the broadcast, but it's not a favourite of mine. But I understand why she wore it. The thing is, it was totally appropriate, and it still looked nice, and she wore it with a black cashmere top from Bowden underneath. Very nice. She's wearing blue today, by the way, but we'll look at that another time. Not a favourite colour of mine, so I wasn't thrilled by it, but at least she hasn't rolled up in some sort of boob tube like the sister-in-law. She attended a series of workshops in partnership with the Mix and National Citizen Service, focusing on emotions, relationships and community action. Everyone at ease, everyone so very natural, even though they're in the presence of true royalty, which is such a stark contrast to the Sussexes, who favour a very contrived staging for their affairs, with the oh so tastefully arranged white flowers, no doubt joss sticks or sticks of incense or candles, smelling of Soho House or whatever, all that kind of fanfare. They need all that fanfare, don't they, from their bugler. But as for those gas-guzzling SUVs they were being chauffeured about in, they were also flanked by escorts from the NYPD. I'd say that is a drain on resources, wouldn't you? What a waste. Why do they need a convoy? It's all for their own PR, for their own self-importance. They don't need it. It's not the coronation, lads. What are you going to do next time you come to New York? Bring golden carriages with you? And 6 purple dappled horses? And a great big red velvet carpet? And cloaks and tapestries? Really? Why do you do this? Why do you do... And they travelled 200 feet. They could have gone by piggyback. She could have hauled Harry there. 200 feet. From a garage near the Equinox Hotel in Hudson Yard, they turned left out onto 33rd, and it was just a little bit further away on 33rd where the next garage was, 200 feet away. Okay, enough fruitiness for a moment. We are to turn to the serious matter of Israel and the atrocities abroad. I have viewers from the areas affected, and my thoughts and prayers go to all innocents who are suffering. The king spoke with the president of Israel and King Abdullah of Jordan on the telephone. A spokesman from Buckingham Palace said, "This is a situation His Majesty is extremely concerned about, and he has asked me to be kept actively updated. His thoughts and prayers are with all of those suffering, particularly those who have lost loved ones, but also those actively involved as we speak. His Majesty is appalled by and condemns the barbaric acts of terrorism in Israel." And a spokesman for Kensington Palace said, "The Prince and Princess of Wales are profoundly distressed by the devastating events that have unfolded in the past days. The horrors inflicted by Hamas's terrorist attack upon Israel are appalling. They utterly condemn them. As Israel exercises its right of self-defense, all Israelis and Palestinians will continue to be stalked by grief, fear and anger in the time to come. Their Royal Highnesses hold all the victims, their families and their friends in their hearts and minds. Those the Prince of Wales met in 2018 overwhelmingly shared a common hope, that of a better future. In the midst of such terrible suffering, the Prince and Princess continue to share that hope without reservation." And then, of course, here they come. Summon the royal bugler of Montecito. With heavy hearts. At the Archewell Foundation, with Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, yada yada yada, here by the grace of God and all her realms. We stand against all acts of terrorism and brutality. And by the way, I am not trying to diminish the seriousness of this subject or make light of the subject itself, so don't get it twisted. I am poking fun at the methodologies of the Sussexes, and that is all, so don't get it twisted, any sick minds out there. We are supporting our partners and organisations on the front lines in Israel to provide the urgent aid needed and to help all innocent victims of this unconscionable level of human suffering. Oh, pipe down. Why don't you just get on with it altruistically, stoically? If you are rushing to aid and help, then you are to be admired for that, of course. I will not take that away from them, but don't trumpet yourselves up with all your titles here. Why don't you just, if you're so humble, why don't you just call yourself Harry and Meghan? Why are you bringing your dukedom into it? Your gift from the Queen. Yesterday, AWF, I've noticed this, have you? AWF was thrilled to join girls and troop leaders for dinner to celebrate the International Day of the Girl. Oh God, another International Day. Yeah, I've noticed this. AWF, they've started introducing themselves as. I'm sorry, but Archewell, as far as I know, is one word. It might be some sort of portmanteau of cod Greek, but Archewell is one word. So why is it AWF? It should be AF, and we all know what AF stands for. Sussex AF. Yes, that works. Duke and Duchess of Sussex AF. AF, yeah, right. They insist that they are oof AWF. No, I see through that. You're just plain old AF. They provided a donation. And this is where I was on tenterhooks. Ooh, what are they providing? Of scarves, beanies and tote bags with AW logos. Well, ring-a-ding-ding. How exciting. They look thrilled. They look thrilled, don't they? How exciting for them. They can run around town toting your vulgar totes with the branding of your foundation on. And even if I wasn't just criticising it for being rather vulgar, it's the joylessness of it. How many kids do you know, no matter if they're celebrated on International Girls' Day or whatever, how many kids do you know that want a tote bag with that on? How many? Seriously. We all know what's got to end up with those tote bags. If they're not sold on eBay to some plonker, then they'll go in the trash or the bin. No one is going to hold on to them or use them. I mean, how uncool can you get? The state visit to Kenya has been confirmed, 31st of October to 3rd of November, and the King, when he's there, will be acknowledging, we're told, painful aspects of the UK's relationship with Kenya. And this is important because I always recognise the regrettable incidents and episodes of the past, such as many throughout the former colonies, existing colonies and empire. I always make it very clear that I refuse to judge the societies of distant times, though, and I'm talking from a few decades ago to centuries ago. I refuse to judge them as if I understand exactly what it was like at those times, because everything changes. The feel of life changes ever quicker, doesn't it, my dear? Even if you compare 5 or 10 years ago to today. So I'm never hasty to judge, but I always acknowledge regrettable episodes, and it seems the King does as well, because Kenya is going to also be celebrating its 60th anniversary of independence from Britain. And it was during the independence uprisings of the early 1950s, and it evolved into an 8-year period. There was counterinsurgencies, and thousands of Kenyans died and suffered. There was cruelty, and there was human rights abuses at the hands of the colonisers. It can't be denied. There was some financial recompense for over 5,000 Kenyans in 2013, provided by the British government. Although I believe that there was not a formal apology, there was a statement expressing sincere regret, but no formal apology. There are some who are saying that it would be very warmly received this time when the King comes. Some are hoping he will bring an official apology with him, but he's certainly coming to continue that spirit of reconciliation. And of course it was in Kenya that the late Queen Elizabeth became queen, when she was up a tree at the Treetops Hotel. And she remained Queen of Kenya until 1964. But it will be interesting to see how the relationship evolves, and it sounds like it will proceed to be one without too much bitterness, and moving forward with a lot of understanding and recognition of the ills of this nation's past, some diplomacy, some understanding, and some love. And I'm quite sure that that is what their Majesties will bring to Kenya on their visit.